Hello, welcome to the interview here on France 24. Well, my guest today became one of the most prominent targets of the Tea Party movement when he became the first incumbent U.S. senator to lose a bid for his party's nomination in 2010. Now, through 3 terms as a Republican senator from Utah, Bob Bennett, who's in our studios now, welcome very much, garnered very high grades from his fellow conservatives for his opposition to abortion, except in cases of rape and incest, for his tough line on illegal immigration, and for his votes against proposals to expand government health care. But he was apparently not conservative enough for his Tea Party rivals, and that despite a warm endorsement from his friend and fellow Mormon, Mitt Romney, back in 2010. Join us today here in the studios. You may be out of politics, sir, but you are certainly still speaking out for the causes you believe in. You're still very close to Mitt Romney, you were telling me earlier. You think that Mitt Romney, you saw a sea change in that first debate, and you really think that Mitt Romney is on his way to the White House. What makes you so sure?
Well, there's always the possibility he will lose. Let's not say that this is a firm prediction, but prior to the first debate, everything was going Obama's way. The polls were showing that it was tight, but with a slight edge for Obama, a stronger edge for Obama in the swing states that will determine who the next president is going to be, and a series of stumbles in the Romney campaign. Be honest about it. He said some things he shouldn't have said, or said some things he should have said but said them badly, whatever. And the momentum was going in that direction, and there was a growing feeling everywhere, and particularly among politicians, there's no way Romney's going to pull this out. Then came the debate.
The first debate.
The first debate. And this is what happened. And you can analyze it after the fact, didn't quite realize it going in. The Obama campaign had spent 3 months, 4 months, and hundreds of millions of dollars defining Mitt Romney. He's too rich, he's too aloof, he's too strange.
Out of touch.
Out of touch. He doesn't understand anything about national politics. He botched it as governor of Massachusetts. He's just...
and that was wrong, and you think he changed that perception in that first debate?
Absolutely, because... You see, the people who watched that debate, understand your audiences are different. The people who watched his convention, the total television coverage for his convention was 28 million. The debate was 70 million. So now you've got people who are seeing him for the very first time.
You had a national audience, but let me ask you this. A lot of people would say in the subsequent debates, the second and the final one, the third one, that Barack Obama bounced back. He regained that moment. You don't see it that way at all.
Not at all.
They say that he was strong, he was on top of it. In fact, here in Europe, they were saying Mitt Romney looked like he had not a clue on foreign policy in that last debate.
But you see, they didn't understand what happened in the first debate because they were not, well, maybe they were. I understand that the Europeans would vote 70, 80% for Obama. They didn't understand how Romney had been positioned by the Obama attack that went on relentlessly for that period of time. While Romney was trying to secure the Republican nomination, Obama was spending his money, knowing that Romney would win the nomination, defining Romney. And the definition was wrong. So what happened is that undecided voters, unconcerned voters, up to that point, gee, we don't like this, but now maybe it's going to be, let's check in.
But sir, let me ask you this, because the question, even at this very late stage in the game, less than 2 weeks to go to Election Day, a lot of people still have trouble getting a handle on Mitt Romney. You know the guy. He's a good friend of yours. Is he the Massachusetts moderate? Is he a conservative? Is he tacking to the Tea Party? The Tea Party is the reason you couldn't get reelected. Who is Mitt Romney?
Well, before I answer that question, let's get back to what happened in the debate, because those are the wrong questions to ask about what happened in the debate. He comes into the debate with the perception that he is not presidential caliber. People are seeing him for the first time, hearing him for the first time. That's hard for a political junkie to understand.
Yeah.
But people who are not political junkies have never had any connection with him. They see him for the very first time. And they say, wait a minute, this guy looks like a president, sounds like a president, he's got facts at his fingertips, he's not a dummy, and okay, here's the dynamic. Barack Obama is under 50% in the polls. Anytime an incumbent is below 50% in the polls, put a number on it, say he's 47, which is where Barack Obama was, that means 53% have decided they want somebody else.
Are still casting away to see who they're going to vote for. But that is national polls. Let's be clear here. That's on the national level. In the swing states, it's still a very tight race, and in a lot of them, Barack Obama is still ahead.
No. Barack Obama is still below 50%. Being ahead is not like being ahead in a football game where you have put points on the board. You've got to get a majority. And if you are a known quantity and there are still a number of undecideds, they are still shopping around for somebody else. And Romney came across in the first debate as somebody they could buy as they shop around. Well, now, the second and third debates didn't change that perception of Romney, and therefore he's still viable.
So he kept that momentum from the first debate. Let's say that.
Exactly.
I'd like to just shift track a little bit because money has played a giant role in this campaign. I think no matter what you think of the role of the super PACs that can spend unlimited as long as they're not tied to any campaign specifically, that's played a gigantic role. And a lot of people say, Romney's money's come from the billionaires. Obama's money's come from the grassroots. That's still the basic model of fundraising in this campaign.
Not so.
How not so?
Not so. If you look at the super PACs that are supporting Obama, they come from just as many millionaires as the super PACs.
Well, Obama's been forced, people would say, to schmooze with the billionaires in order to raise money. Well, it's not his natural instinct.
Yes, it is.
This is what an observer might say.
Yeah, it is. His natural instinct is to do whatever makes the most sense for him to do, and this makes the most sense.
Let me just ask, devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
We remember the 47% comment, whatever you want to make of that and however you want to accept that. A lot of people look at Mitt Romney and people, especially people who are critical of him, and say he really looks at home with the money crowd. He looks at home when he's speaking to those hedge fund guys and those big money guys. That is his natural constituency.
Go back to 2008. Where were all of those people in 2008?
Well, they weren't behind Mitt Romney.
They were all behind Barack Obama.
No.
Yes, they were.
Barack Obama, though, was the first campaign in history they say was the most racially diverse in its fundraising campaign.
Look, number one, the super PAC thing has been distorted in terms of where it comes from. The big individual contributions that can produce a PAC all predated the Citizens United decision.
Which was 2010.
They were available to Barack Obama in 2008. You go back and look at the fundraising on Wall Street at Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch and all of the rest of it, overwhelmingly for Obama. Okay. And he looked very comfortable schmoozing with the hedge fund
But now
guys.
It's overwhelmingly for Mitt Romney. And the question I'd put to you is that this Supreme Court decision has perhaps exacerbated the role of big money.
I doubt it that much.
You've said that paid speech is free speech. That was the Supreme Court's, and you stand by that position.
That's correct.
Let me ask you though. Okay, free speech equals paid speech, but doesn't that essentially mean that the more money you have, the more free speech you can buy?
Sure.
And you don't have a problem with that in any way? Because that's basically attaching a monetary value to speech.
Well, number one, it's not Citizens United that made that decision. It goes all the way back to the Supreme Court decision in Buckley versus Vallejo, when they struck down the Watergate reforms, so-called, where they said you cannot use your own money. They said to Mr. Buckley, you're running for office and you want to buy an ad, and we're going to say you cannot buy an ad above a certain level. You cannot spend above a certain level, even if it's your own money.
There's a precedent. But
that's what has happened there.
But both candidates,
I agree with that.
Both candidates have foregone public financing in this campaign.
That's correct.
And would you agree?
As they did in 2008.
As they did in 2008, perhaps that's as a result of the 2010 Super PAC decision.
No,
they have no choice.
They can't do something in 2008 as a result of a 2010 decision.
But the fact that they could have changed their minds, they could have accepted. No one can afford to not have an unlimited sort of cap on what they can spend these days in a campaign. It's too expensive. You need too much money to run it. Finally, I just want to ask you, Mitt Romney spent a couple of years in France.
Yes.
As a more of a missionary many years back. He made some declarations even. He spoke some French when he was organizing the Salt Lake City Olympics.
Yes, he did.
I assume that would be political poison today. You can't speak French as a U.S. politician.
I don't think anybody cares.
Yeah, so if you were still in U.S. politics, would you tell people you were on France 24 right now on France 24 doing this interview?
Sure.
There would be no problem with that.
No problem there.
You're on that French socialist station.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't bother me at all.
What do you think in general? Europe, Greece have been sort of taboo poison words in the campaign and the debates. They've been used in a very derogatory, almost pejorative sense.
Right.
What do you think of France's president? There's a socialist president here right now.
Frankly, I haven't looked at his record that well. I simply don't comment on French politics.
Fair enough.
I don't understand.
And I guess you could argue that Barack Obama's go-to person is Angela Merkel in Berlin anyway right now.
Well, yeah.
Bob Bennett, I'm sorry, we are going to have to leave it there. We've unfortunately run out of time. But former U.S. Senator from Utah, thank you so much for coming on our set today and talking a little bit about your friend Mitt Romney. And you'll be watching this campaign, and you still say he has a very possible road to the White House on November 6th.
Right now, the wind is at his back. And to your earlier comment, it's not only happening nationally, it's happening in the swing states.
All around.
And I think if we follow the historic pattern, the undecided voters, that small sliver,
they will
break for the challenger. They almost always have in the past, and if they break for the challenger this time, Romney will win.
We'll have to invite you back and keep you to that prediction. Thanks so much for watching the interview here on France 24. I've been speaking to former U.S. Senator from Utah, Bob Bennett.